Okay, so we've got an explosive debate for you today. I've been called out by a Palestinian Jordanian, Ramzi. I'll let him introduce himself because, frankly, I don't know who he is. I don't know the first thing about him, but I get the sense that this is going to be a good debate, and the
I'm
man
just,
knows his things.
thank you for the introduction, first of all. I'm just a normal citizen, Jordanian Arab citizen living in Jordan. I'm originally Palestinian, born in Kuwait, lived most of my life in the UAE, and right now I'm living in Jordan back again. I'm 37 years old, currently unemployed, but hopefully things will get better.
So yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get a job out of this debate. Let's see
Maybe.
who's watching.
Maybe. Maybe.
Any banking families, and I'm not talking about West Bank families, any banking families that want to give this man a job, let's see if we can help out a cousin. Okay, so Ramsey wants to talk about Zionism, and it's an issue that's dear to my heart, quite literally, very near to my heart. And so, Ramsey, I'll let you lead the way.
I really wanted to see your perspective about like the war on Gaza right now. Where do you think it's heading in terms of Zionism? Where is your hopes at? Where is it going? I would like to know that.
So Gaza as a territory is not in my personal Zionist vision. It obviously impacts my Zionist vision. My Zionist vision is we have a Jewish state which is able to withhold and withstand any attacks that are directed at it. A place that guarantees the security of my children, my grandchildren, my great-great-great-grandchildren for many years to come. So it needs defensible borders, it needs territory, but it also needs coexistence and peace with the Arabs that surround us. We can't hold out as a fortress for millennia. We need to make peace with our cousins, and the sooner the better. And so Gaza is really a short-term problem for me, and it sounds as it's such crude language when you look at what's going on there today, because what's going on there today is serious. But there is a very real threat, I believe, to my people and to your people in the form of Hamas and jihadi terrorism. But that doesn't have to be a long-term thing. And so there's what happens in the short term and then what happens in the long term, and they're two very different things. And I don't know which of them you'd like to discuss.
Short term, definitely. Like, do you really think you will prevail in Gaza?
So do I think that we will get all of the hostages back alive? I hope so. Do I think that we will... Thank you. Do I hope that we will crush Hamas and prevent them from ever inflicting the kinds of horrors that they did on October the 7th? I also hope so. But I think that could come at a high price for both of our people, but a higher price for your people. And that's just the nature of this war.
Yes, of course. And the West Bank, you're definitely taking the whole thing, it seems. What do you say?
I mean, I'm not taking anything. I'm not in government. I don't think any Israelis would elect me to office. Maybe
but
some
Zionism
Palestinians
is much broader, isn't it? Like Zionism much broader than Israel itself, like much broader than its territories right now. Isn't it larger than what is it now?
Biblical Israel, yeah, biblical Zion is bigger than the territory we have today, but
so Jordan is definitely under that territory.
So there's two separate things. So let me think how I answer this. There's biblical, let's say there's biblical Israel, there's legal Israel, and there's pragmatic Israel. So biblical Israel is a little bit of Lebanon, a little bit of Jordan, not a lot, and that's like the old Jewish kingdoms. There's legal Israel, which I believe is the Israel that should have been in the 1920s, and that does include Jordan. I believe that legally, from San Remo, Israel is entitled from the river, not to the from the sea, not to the river, but to the furthest border of Jordan. All of what was the Emirate of Jordan today, should have been Israel. And then there's pragmatic Israel. Today, there are lots of Arabs that live in Jordan. There are lots of Arabs that live in Yehuda v'Shomron, the West Bank, and many of those Arabs, most of those Arabs, would not want Israeli citizenship. So pragmatically, a solution has to be found, and that I can accommodate. Many Zionists can't, but I can accommodate and imagine coexisting with Arabs who live in that land in the future. Certainly not today. Certainly not tomorrow. I don't think there's the appetite amongst the Palestinians to coexist. I think if we were to have created a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza on the back of Oslo, I think we would have seen many, many more October 7th and in a much larger format.
Okay. Do you know that Israel, if it gives the Palestinians a true state, a really true state with freedom, equal rights, everything, do you know that you could destroy Islam for what it is totally by just doing that?
We don't
by just
want
doing that, you could prevail in a huge way, on a huge scale. Do you know that?
Just to make it very clear to anyone watching this, Zionists and Israel have no desire to destroy Islam. We like Islam. We like La ilaha illallah. We don't like the jihadis who come to kill us, but we don't have an issue with the religion of Islam. And in fact, when Muslim soldiers join the IDF, they swear in on the Quran, on Al Quran. Our issue is not Islam. Our issue is not Muslims. Our issue are those that come to kill us. So I just want to make that distinction. I would kind of push back a little bit and say we offered the Palestinians a two-state solution time and time again. We offered them it. The United Nations offered them it. At multiple opportunities, the Palestinians or the Arabs have said no to that two-state solution. The most reasonable, most recent one being the Olmert offer, where the Palestinians were offered East Jerusalem as their capital, the holy city and holy basin shared, and then under the custodianship of the Saudis, the Palestinians, the Jordanians, the Israelis, and the Americans. Basically all of the West Bank with some minor border adjustments, so like Gush Etzion coming into Israel, maybe Al-Fahim and places like that going into Palestine. And guess what the Palestinians said? Guess what Abu Mazen said? No, he turned it down. And so I don't think that us offering the Palestinians...
Don't you think?
Pardon?
Don't you think Abu Mazen is a good friend of Israel?
I think Abu Mazen is a good friend of his banker. And Abu Mazen, like most in the PA, and frankly most in Hamas, will do whatever enriches them and solidifies and concentrates their power. That's what I believe.
Really?
So pardon?
You think so?
Yes. I mean, you only need to look at the level of affluence amongst Hamas leadership and PA. I mean, what's left of the Hamas leadership and PA families to recognize that there is a lot of money there. Well, how come there are so many Palestinian billionaires connected to Hamas or the PA? I drive through Yehuda v'Shomron Road.
Especially the
Pardon?
PA. Especially the PA.
I mean both. I mean,
the
Palestinian leadership, whoever they are, never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity, as the saying goes, and they also never miss an opportunity to enrich themselves. Like whether they're flying to Doha on their private jets while their people are suffering.
You just said what is left of the leaders of Hamas. That means leaders of Hamas are in Gaza. They're not in Doha.
There are Hamas in Doha, as you well know.
Yeah, there is, but the high majority are in Gaza, and that's why we see every day leaders killed in Gaza and martyred.
Yeah.
So it's it seems like Hamas is losing, but the thing is, that you might maybe forget. Hamas is not a movement. Hamas is much bigger than that. Hamas is it's an idea. It's an idea that is in actually most Arabs, but you don't know that. You might think that the Arabs are against the Palestinians in a way, politically and diplomatically and all that. But when it comes to people, trust me, the people are with Palestine in a very strong way. But maybe they're not expressing that, but they are. And that is the main issue for us to coexist. I don't think we can coexist because our ideologies are completely the same. They are completely the opposite.
So what is your ideology? Like, forget Hamas, forget the PA, Ramsey. I'm speaking to you. What is you're wearing a keffiyeh, which is a political statement, not religious statement.
No,
what is your religion? What is your political ideology?
It's a resistance movement. That's all.
It's a resistance. I mean, for me, it's the most ironic item of clothing because I believe that the Palestinian identity is based purely on reaction to Zionism and defined by the British. And you're wearing a keffiyeh that was designed by the British
I know.
in reaction to Zionism.
It was designed from the British in Al-Kufa in Iraq, actually.
Yeah. And but then those particular colors were John Glubb, and he had the red and white for the Jordanians and the black and white for the Palestinians.
Yes, but also people in Iraq wear it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to bring it back to the statement, what is your ideology? What is your religion? Where are you?
We should live in peace, but peace can only be made if a true Muslim rules over Jerusalem and over Palestine. Other than that, it won't. Peace won't happen.
Would you say that King David, Dawood alayhi salam, was a Muslim?
Of course.
So you will have a Muslim like Dawood, David HaMelech, ruling over there, because we will at some point re-establish our theocracy, our monarchy over Jerusalem. So if you consider Dawood a Muslim, then you will consider the next Jewish king to be a Muslim, inshallah.
See, that's the thing. We're so close to the Jewish kingdom. We are extremely close for that Jewish kingdom to happen. But something will happen that will change everything. That is a promise that even if you like it or not, it will not happen. You will never have another Jewish monarchy, even though you are very close in having it, but you won't have it.
I mean, you told us for many years we'd never have a Jewish state either, and mashallah.
Nah, Jewish state.
What we have to say.
Man, you were backed up by a lot of huge, powerful countries, and the Arabs were devastated from the Ottoman Empire. We were ruined. We didn't have any guns, nothing, and that's how you took Haifa and Jaffa. We both know that. You didn't fight us fairly, man to man. You had a lot of help in order to seize that kind of land. So
in 1948, Habibi, we had no great country behind us, but we did have a great force, the greatest force. We had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's who we had in 1948. It is all the will of Allah
subhanahu wa ta'ala in 1948.
And let me explain how.
Okay, please do.
The Egyptians had dozens of tanks, aircrafts. The Jordanians, the Arab Legion, was manned by British officers, trained by the British Army, armed by the British Army. On the other side, I mean, there was the Lebanese, there was the Syria, etc. On the other side, you had Jews who'd survived the Holocaust. They were skin and bones. Jews who'd survived the Farhud and the massacres in the Arab lands. They were impoverished, untrained. We were so ill-equipped to fight We had nothing, no aircraft. There was no Israeli Air Force back then, no F-35s. We had one rifle for every 3 soldiers.
What about
Halfway through the war, we
Palestinians?
were able. Sorry,
The Palestinians had nothing. You
the
came
Palestinians.
well equipped, well trained, and you entered with heavy machinery into villages.
Heavy machinery, Habibi, you're wrong. The Arab armies in 1948 had literal tanks and planes. We had nothing. Egyptian squadrons were flying over Tel Aviv and dropping bombs on us.
Yeah, it's okay. That's true. That's true. I had family members that fought in 1948. Yeah, I know that. But
and so my point is this: in 48, we weren't backed by America. American dollars didn't really start flowing till Camp David. American support was basically non-existent. There was actually arms embargoes put in place by America back then. Britain abstained from recognizing Israel. Britain backed the Jordanians, armed the Jordanians, fought with the Jordanians. Meanwhile, a handful of ragtag refugees whooped the mightiest Arab armies. The only explanation for a religious Jew or a religious Muslim is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed it.
Really? You think so?
You think he didn't will it?
No. Of course, he allowed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
the
willed
will
it.
For us humans.
The will. Nothing happens without Allah willing it. You agree?
Allah allowing it, yes, but you have the right to choose what to do as a human being.
Allah. Why weren't the Arabs worthy of defeating the Jews in 48?
Because the Arabs, 1948, they were so ignorant in every way. The Arabs were in every way, in religion, and socially, in every aspect, they were weak, and that's why you easily took everything, because we were nothing, completely ignorant, no education. The Gulf was rising, and everyone wanted to make some money. Everybody went to the Gulf. In 1967 war happened. Nobody fought. Everybody's working. All the kids traveling to Kuwait, to Saudi Arabia. It happened in a way to make the Palestinians weak. But even though you had everything with you in 1967, the next year, 1968, the Jordanian army, with your legendary general, Moshe Dayan, lost against the Jordanian battalion from Mashur Hadith al-Jazi without the Air Force, just pure infantry and artillery. And you had everything. And you had your legendary general. And you lost the battle.
So I hear
right
all
now,
these.
we are losing the battle. Yes, we lost the battle, but you still didn't win the war. You still haven't won. You still didn't take. You haven't taken Jerusalem. You haven't taken the West Bank. You haven't taken Gaza. You can't say that you won.
Ramzi,
Not yet.
Habibi, this
Still a bit early.
This is the problem. You are the problem. Like, you look at Gaza and you put your hand up and you say, #me too. I want that for the rest of the West Bank. I want that for East Jerusalem. We want the war to continue. If instead of saying, me too, I want that, you said, actually, I'm looking at Gaza. The scenes are heartbreaking. The scenes are horrible. Israel is a superpower. It's one of the most powerful armies in the world. It would be in our interest to put down the gun and extend the hand of peace and come on my platform and talk peace. Maybe we'd be getting somewhere. But instead, you tell me this is only the first stage of the battle and you're going to win the war and we're losing.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth. We can't, and like, now we can be respectful of each other and talk to each other. That's normal. We can exist in that way, of course, and more than that, actually. But that's the truth. We can't. This thing can't keep on going, because we both know.
Well, then you're going to lose.
Yeah, you
well,
think
then you're
so?
Going to lose.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like you lost in 48, like you lost in 67, like you lost in 73, like you're losing in 2025. At every opportunity to attack, you have, and at every opportunity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted us the victory. And I'm on here as on the side that is winning continuously, saying, I want peace, not war. And you're saying, Habibi, no, we can talk and have a nice chat, but if we
Yes.
see each other on the battlefield,
100%.
it's.
I am so honest. 100%.
And I'm so honest.
That's the truth. Because
Ramzi.
that's the truth. Even with Zionism. That's the thing. You don't like me as a Zionist. Come on, man. Let's don't fool each other. As a Zionist, you can't like me as a Muslim, as an Arab. It doesn't work. Unless I'm your kind of Muslim that removes some things, certain things from the Quran, and tell me that's the way to be a good Muslim. That's a different case, you know. But as long
So
as
what do you think I need you to remove from the Quran for us to coexist?
you want us to completely remove anything that has relation to jihad. Anything that has a relation to jihad must be erased.
I thought jihad meant in a struggle.
Well, jihad means in a lot of ways. It means in a lot of ways.
Sorry, I'm messing with you.
I mean, you're right. It means also struggle. But you know what I'm saying? The jihad, the jihad, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You
I
want
know
us,
exactly what you mean.
yeah, you want us to completely remove it from the Quran as if it doesn't exist, even though it exists in human nature to defend yourself. Not even in the holy books. Human nature tells you to defend yourself. And
I
it's
have no
amazing
issue.
how Palestinians are fighting and you call them terrorists. At least you can call them freedom fighters and kill them. But just don't call them terrorists, because they're not terrorists. We both know they're not terrorists. They're not really terrorists.
If they were fighting our soldiers, I'd do them the courtesy of calling them fighters. I wouldn't call them freedom fighters.
So
I'd call them fighters. I'd call them soldiers.
You have to respect
Call them militants. But they don't. They target civilians. And that's why we call them terrorists.
Right now, they're killing soldiers in Gaza. The war that's happening now is between the Israeli army and Al-Qassam brigades.
And when they fire rockets at civilian populations, when they carry out massacres of civilians, they're not.
But you have no proof of that. You have no proof of massacre civilians. There's no
Are you
evidence.
insane, Ramzi, you're not talking to some schmuck from the West. I live here. I go on your Telegram groups. I watch your people gleefully posting the videos of them massacring, trying to behead Thai workers with garden hose. I've seen the videos. I've seen videos of young girls, children with bullet holes in their hearts. Don't tell me that they're not massacring civilians. Don't insult my intelligence or insult our audience intelligence. You're not dealing with some kids in the West.
I haven't seen evidence of that. I haven't
seen. Okay, so if I show you evidence now, because we can screen share, and I'm going to show you, I'll pixelate it in the video so other people can't see it. But I'm now going to show you your people massacring civilians.
The thing is, right now there's a lot of AI. Okay, and it can
is literally posted on the day by your people on their Telegram channels. Do you want to go on their Telegram channels? We can go on their Telegram channels, and we can scroll back to October the 7th.
Let's say, for the sake of conversation, just let's not waste time. For the sake of conversation, okay, it happened. Some people from Hamas did horrible shit. They killed girls. They killed maybe.
It's not, I want you to admit, because you said in this conversation there will be no lies. I gave you my word. Wallahi, I won't lie. I want you to say now that you have not seen one of those videos.
I haven't seen any of those videos you're talking about.
Okay, so we are going to pause, and I'm going to show you a video of Hamas massacring civilians.
Well, I'm just telling you. I mean, I'll
because
see.
No, I need you to be honest and admit to my audience that you've seen this with your own eyes. And we'll go back, for the sake of this clip, I'll download Telegram now on this computer because I don't have it, and we'll scroll back to October the 7th, and we'll look what Palestinians were posting in Palestinian groups of them massacring civilians.
Okay. let's say, for the sake of conversation, or I admit, okay, it happens. It's like statistically, it will happen. Some guys are radically stupid. Some people are really ignorant in religion, overhyped, the situation. They might have done bad things. I'm not saying this will never happen. No, it doesn't happen. No way it happened. No. It might happen. Muslims are not angels, and everybody, shit happens. Yeah, the U.S. Army in Iraq raped a lot of women, but can you say the U.S. Army did it? It was soldiers that was maniacs in the U.S. Army, and they actually put them behind bars. So shit happens, but it's not the doctrine of Izzuddin Qassam brigades. We don't kill hostages. We don't kill women. We don't kill children. We don't kill old men. We don't burn trees. We don't do all that. We kill soldiers. Whoever kills soldiers, for us, that's 100% okay. 100%.
But this is the thing.
Whoever
With
did
October the
that
7th,
is not an Islamic thing at all.
So this is my thing. I think Hamas are dogs from Jahannam. I think they disgrace Islam. I think they
Not all
violate
of them.
every.
There's a lot of them who are, to me, who does not allow this kind of actions to happen whatsoever. I'm sure, because they understand.
How can you?
I'm sure. I'm
We've seen
100% sure. I'm 100% sure that the majority of Izzuddin Qassam brigades understands Islam. You can see the hostages after they leave. Man.
Question then,
and you can see the
Ramsey.
hostages that they leave from the Israeli prisons. Yeah, come on, man. You can see the.
How are you? Do I need to pull up images of Sharabi and the other hostages and the condition they were in when they left? They're in terrible condition. They said, but what? Even more so, I want to show.
They were
You've seen
hostages in Gaza. What do you think they would be? Of course,
Pardon?
but I mean, they were doing the best they could in not harming them and not humiliating
have
them.
you listened to the interview? Have you listened? And not Hamas propaganda, but have you listened to the interviews of any of the hostages that were released in their words? Because they described the unbearable conditions they were kept in, the torture, how they were starved while Hamas would eat in front of them and tease them with food. It's just that they weren't kept in the best condition. Hamas disgrace Islam at every single opportunity. And I'd go further than that.
Hamas, maybe people in Hamas, but not the doctrine of Hamas. I don't believe so. I don't believe Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, may he rest in peace, believes in that you can kill a child or a woman or an old man. I'm absolutely sure he does not allow this kind of action, and he is the founder of Hamas. I mean, okay, it might happen. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happened, maybe, and this is devastating if it happens.
I think this is not an Hamas issue. It's a societal issue, unfortunately, in Gaza. And what I mean by that,
what? I'm sorry,
it's at a societal level. When they took back the body, the corpse of Shani Luke, when they took back the hostages into Gaza, crowds mobbed the vehicles and beat and spat on the corpse or the barely surviving Israelis whenever they saw them. You're talking thousands and thousands of people just flooding onto the streets to attack. Now, you can say that's against Islam, and it may well be. Yeah, it may well be. But what we've all seen with our own eyes is this depraved violence. And it's not at Hamas level, it's at a Gazan level. Now, there are many good people in Gaza. I speak to peace activists from Gaza. I know support for Hamas has dropped to 6%. So I'm not saying that every single person in Gaza is a sociopath, far from it. But there is a big enough issue in Gaza that thousands and thousands of Muslims, many of them will be devout Muslims, flooded onto the streets to spit on and beat corpses and barely living Israelis that were kidnapped and brought back to Gaza.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear, unfortunate to know that that has nothing to do with Islam, and I'm sure you even know that has nothing to do
I agree.
with
I agree. This is what I'm saying.
It doesn't even go. It doesn't go. It doesn't go with being a human being, a decent human being. I mean,
I agree, Ramsey. I think Islam is like any religion. It can be interpreted and I include Judaism in that. It can be interpreted and taken to a good place or to a dark place. And so
of course,
you can be a
that-
Muslim
that's the problem
that
of
follows
religion.
the,
Yeah,
I'm saying, so you can be a Muslim that follows the Sharia, follows the Sunnah, is on the Deen, and you say in a time of war you can't kill women, you can't kill children, you can't even
no,
chop down a tree.
no,
And then you can be you can be a Muslim who, and I look at Daesh and people like this who say strike the neck of the kuffar, kill them wherever
yeah,
you find them. And they're reading the same text, but the tafsir, the interpretation, is to a dark
yes,
place rather than a good place. And so
yes,
I don't see Islam as the problem. I see some Muslims as the problem. In the same way that you will have Jews and Christians who can take our faiths to dark places as well. I don't believe this is a problem unique to Islam.
absolutely, absolutely, definitely. Yes, I totally agree with you. Definitely.
And so this is the so my issue with you said I want to change Islam. There's bits I'd like to remove from Islam.
Yeah.
I don't want to remove. I don't want to remove. And I'll take it. Make it very personal. I was raised in a communist, progressive, liberal household. I was raised with religion as the opiate of the masses. I was raised under egalitarian principles.
Mhm.
And because of my upbringing, there are things I can read in the Tanakh which are like, oh, that's quite difficult to reconcile with the values I was raised with. But I can't change the text of the Tanakh. I can't change the text of the Torah. The Torah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I am bound to its law. Whether it's uncomfortable, whether I agree, whether I disagree, who am I? I'm a simple Jew. And so I can't change a word in the Torah, and I don't think a Muslim can change a word in the Quran. What we can
Of
do
course.
is
Yeah.
reorientate how we read, our interpretation. We can go to the Mafashim, to the Ulema. We can go to, and we can try and understand the text in other ways. So, for instance, as a Jew, I hate Surah 9, Ayat 29. The Jizya. Take the jizya from me until I'm sagirun, until I'm humiliated, belittled, to go by Ibn Kathir's tafsir. I don't want to be humiliated by you if you're lording over me. So, but I don't want to remove that because that is the Quran. I want you to
The respect.
arrive at an interpretation where you don't want to humiliate me and you don't want to take the jizya from me and you don't want me to be under your boot.
وهم صاغرون, it doesn't mean when I'm taking your money, I should humiliate you. It just means you will pay. You will pay. There's no other way.
That's
That
not what
means
Ibn, that's what Ramsey.
it's like
That's what
taxes.
Ramsey from
Taxes. It's exactly like taxes right now. What is
La La.
death and taxes is the only thing that's promised in this life. Death
La,
and
it's not like taxes now.
taxes and everything. You know, in Jizya, if you take money from Christians or Jews or whatever, do you know the laws there
Yes, I
are
do
for
know the laws. You
Jizya?
don't.
I'm sure you know. We could go to war for a Jewish person. A Muslim army could go to war for the sake of a Jewish person if he's under Jizya, if he's under the living under the law and under the country of a Muslim country. You know what I'm saying? Under the umbrella of a Muslim country.
I care about
That is
Quran
Islam.
and Hadith.
That is
La,
Jizya.
la, 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 la. I don't care about Islam. I care about Quran and Hadith. I care about the
Okay.
Sunnah. I
Okay. Of
don't
course,
care
Quran and Sunnah
what
goes
somebody
together.
800 years later says. I want you to show me any Hadith or anything in the Quran that says anything remotely linked to what you've just said then.
About what?
About the army of Muhammad, Yesh Muhammad, can go to war for a dhimma, for a dhimmi, for one of the dhimma.
Yeah, the hadith is there. I honestly don't I'm not religious that enough to show you the hadith. I know it's there 100%. I honestly can't. I don't know if
Okay,
it's
that's fine. If
Al-Tirmidhi
you,
or Ahmed or Sahih al-Albani. I honestly don't know. I'm not gonna talk shit. I don't know the proper hadith, but I know there's a lot of rules when taking jizya, and even if you are poor, you don't have to pay. And if you are really poor, you will take actually money from the Muslims to live. That's the real rules of Islam.
So I'm now
don't have
going to correct everything that you've
taxes
said.
is 10 times worse, and nobody's saying something about taxes. But when
Perfect.
it's
So
about
let's first.
jizya, everybody's all of a sudden, angry, even though
So
taxes is way much
do
worse.
you accept Ibn Kathir?
Ibn Kathir, yes.
Tafsir. Perfect. So this is what he says on the ayah we just spoke about. Actually, first let's start with the ayah itself, just for the viewers. So this is what we're discussing. Fight those who do not believe in Allah and His last day, nor comply with what Allah and His Messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth from amongst those who are given scripture. So Allah Kitab in this case is Jews and Christians, until they pay the jizya, willingly submitting, fully humbled is where the translation will go with humbled. Now let's listen to what Ibn Kathir says about that. So Ibn Kathir is now going to give the traditional Muslim or a traditionally Islamic understanding of how to read that.
What you said is enough. You don't need to
It's
say what
not
Ibn
enough,
Kathir is.
Habibi. It's not enough. It's not
Yeah,
enough
it
because
is.
I'm going to absolutely shred what you've just said, and then I give you accounts of Jews who are living under jizya to just counter everything that you've said.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, I was paying the jizya a sign of. Okay, perfect. So this is under the heading paying the jizya as a sign of kufr and disgrace. So this is Ibn Kathir. This was the bit I was looking for. Until they pay the jizya. If they do not choose to embrace Islam, so this is talking Jews and Christians, with willing submission, in defeat and subservience, and feel themselves subdued, disgraced, humiliated, and belittled. Therefore, Muslims are not allowed to honor the people of the Dhimma or elevate them above Muslims, for they are miserable, disgraced, and humiliated. Muslim recorded from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet in the Hadith. So the reason I'm reading that is Muslims lie constantly or have been lied to by Da'i or by whomever, by the Shayukh, about what this tax was. This was a tax of humiliation for the Jew and the Christian because we rejected Islam. This was a tax of humiliation which had no limit, which wasn't, as many mistakenly believed, only paid by men of working age or fighting age if they could afford it.
It was.
There was no limit. Even within the Hadith, there are different amounts given for jizya. This Christian tribe paid
for every person. There's a different amount.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was a tax of humiliation. Now, Ramsey, I want you to imagine you're living in the West. You're living in Britain.
Okay.
And Britain charges all of the kuffar, the non-Muslims, the same tax. And they call this tax zakat. And it's 2.5%. And then they have a special Muslim tax, which doesn't have a limit, which they say this is the Muslim tax to humiliate them, to disgrace them because they reject our ways and our views. And we will levy this tax on them until they convert to us, or they leave our lands, or they continue to pay this tax of humiliation. Would you see that as fair? The kuffar, they pay 2.5%, and you have to pay a higher tax of humiliation.
Okay, of course not. But the thing is, you're taking Ibn Kathir as if he's the prophet. He is not the prophet. Whatever he says is not 100% right because he said so. The Quran is our major rule. And what it means, وَهُمْ صَاغِرُونَ, is that to pay while being defeated. Because that's the only way you will pay. You'll be defeated. صَاغِرُونَ is defeat. That's it. Now Ibn Kathir or Ibn Tattarir or whatever you wants to explain and give more, and you will be disgraced and we shall take you. I don't give a shit. He's not the prophet. He might have a lot of wrong things. Everyone has. I don't need to follow every word,
Now you're doing as I described. So I said I don't want to change the Quran.
Yeah.
I don't want to change the word وَهُمْ صَاغِرُونَ, the words. I want those to remain because that's Islam. I want Muslims to not interpret it like with the tafsir Ibn Kathir, because that's to my disadvantage. I don't want to be humiliated if I fall under Islam. So I don't want to change Islam.
Whoever
I want to
thinks
change your
that
interpretation.
whoever thinks that God would tell a human being to humiliate another human being, then he is definitely like stupid or ignorant and should be helped, because it's just 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't make sense that God would tell you to humiliate another person.
That's very interesting. In Judaism, we're not really supposed to speak about the sages that came before us, the ulema, in that way, in the sense that we have to be respectful of Chazal, of the sages. But it's very interesting to hear within Islam you have that freedom just to basically call Ibn Kathir an idiot, which is just
Of
like
course.
and say
I
you're
mean, I
wrong.
don't mean to call him an idiot. It just happened. I respect everyone, Ibn Kathir or whoever, but it doesn't mean if Ibn Kathir said so, it doesn't mean
I
it's
agree.
100% right.
I agree. So I think we're saying the same thing. I think we're saying the same thing. I think we're saying that the Quran is the Quran. You believe it's from God. I don't. Otherwise, I'd be Muslim.
Of course, yes.
But neither of us wants to change the text. We're fine with the text. What we want to change is how people interpret it. And so I see Hamas as being ideologically not that different. Obviously, they are different, the Ikhwan Muslimin, than Daesh. But it's the same global caliphate.
No,
it's
they're
the
not
same.
Daesh. They have nothing to do with Daesh. Daesh
They
are
both
not
want to kill.
Muslims. Daesh are not Muslims whatsoever.
So I'm not going to make takfir on anyone.
No. I would say I would make takfir. They are not Muslims at all.
To bring it back, there's nothing that I want to change within Islam. And you started this tangent by saying that I want to change Islam. So to bring it back to what you're saying,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but who represent Judaism and the leaders of the free world, as they say, they are actually in war with Islam values. Some values in Islam must change. Some perceptions in the Quran must change. And
you think that's jihad? And you think
jihad
the major value is jihad?
Jihad is totally. You see, I was raised in Abu Dhabi. I was raised in a school who taught that the normal things, like we know in the Quran that the most people who hate us the most as Muslims are the Jews. That's a verse. That's an information from God to us. Like the most people who hate you are the Jews and the people who ashraku and other people as well. But the main thing is the Jews who hates us the most. That doesn't mean that we should hate you. It's just an info to us to know that.
That's really interesting, because my understanding was from Islam, from my reading, it's the other way around, that Islam tells you to hate us and that we're the lowliest of creatures.
No. Islam doesn't. How can Islam doesn't hate anything. Even in Islam, in the Quran, Allah never says Allah hates to do this and that. Always in the Quran, Allah says Allah does not like for this and that to happen. Allah does not like. You can't find one verse that says Allah hates. You can find a lot of verses. I can't find them now, but I'm sure I've heard them and I've seen them in the Bible and in the Old Testament. There is hate, there is violence, there is a lot of things, but people don't actually know. In Islam,
I thought you were in Islam. I thought maybe I'm misremembering the ayah. You're instructed to love and hate for the sake of Allah.
I'm sorry?
I thought I'd read in the Quran, I've read the Quran a few times, that Muslims are commanded to love and hate for the sake of Allah.
I actually cannot, I don't know. I can't say no. But I'm just saying a verse that God doesn't attribute hate to himself. Maybe he attributes hate to a human being in the Quran. It may happen. But I'm saying Allah attributes hate to himself, saying that he hates. That is 100% not in the Quran. Because in our doctrine, there is no hate. I shouldn't hate you as a Jew. As a Muslim, you have the right to live in Palestine, in Jordan, in Syria, wherever you want to live, you have the right to live. You have the right to eat the way you eat.
Except the Hijaz.
What?
Except Mecca and Medina.
Except Mecca and Medina. Yes, you can't go Mecca or Medina. Sorry about that.
So you don't have the right to live anywhere. That would be like me saying, Ramsey, you don't have the right to live in Quds because that's our holy city.
Well, if that's the case for you, so what? We have a rule. If you want to enter Mecca and Medina, it's like the same when you have a lot of rules for visa. You know, we have a rule, one rule. You apply for that rule. You can go to Mecca and Medina. You just have to be Muslim, and you can go to Mecca and Medina. You're welcome. But other than that,
And you can become Jewish and you can come to Jerusalem.
no, I will never become Jewish. Sorry to tell you that.
Exactly, that's my point. So this is the whole thing. Like, we're told that we're the apartheid, but it's the Muslims that actually enforce apartheid. It's the Muslims that actually carried out ethnic cleansing.
Never did we call for a war to kill Jews. Islam never did that.
That's not what I said.
The only time we went to war was at the time of the Prophet, when you violated the truce. That is the only time when we went to war with you, and it only applied to Mecca and Medina. You are happily to live everywhere. Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, live everywhere, build synagogues, worship, eat kosher. You have the right to do that. You have the right to have everything. In Islam,
Unless it's in the
that's
Hijaz.
the case.
Unless it's in the Hijaz. Unless it's in the Hijaz.
Yeah, Mecca and Medina, you can't. You have to be Muslim.
But that's apartheid now.
No,
Medina used to be Jewish until you ethnically cleansed us.
It's not calling to kill you. I'm not. It's not.
No. Ethnic cleanse means remove someone from a territory because of their ethnicity. It doesn't mean kill.
Okay.
You can ethnically cleanse without killing.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, okay.
And so Medina was Jewish.
Yeah.
Muhammad conquers it, and then Umar ethnically cleanses us.
Actually, the Prophet cleansed.
La. It was Umar ibn al-Khattab. It wasn't. It was based on a hadith where Muhammad says two religions can't coexist in the Hijaz. But in the time of Muhammad, he arranged a deal that the Jews would pay 50% of everything that they earned to him to stay. And then Umar said it was the wish of Muhammad to kick them out. And there are many hadith from Bukhari to Sahih Muslim that attest to this.
Yes, but there are hadiths also. It's up to you to believe it or not. But the Prophet was the one who ordered for the Jews to be cleansed. Nevertheless, it was the Prophet or not the Prophet.
Yeah,
it did happen.
We're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. Umar said it was Muhammad's last wish. Yeah,
it is. It was a wish that it was to be cleansed from the Jews. Yes, Mecca and Medina. That's 100% true.
And was Medina originally Jewish?
You see, that's the problem with Jews. If you are in somewhere, you want everything to be yours. There were Jews in Medina. Okay, there were. But that does not make Medina a Jewish city. You were there, but the Arabs were there as well.
Maybe it was a Jewish. Your books say it was a Jewish city. Not mine. We have no record of Medina.
Yathrib, it was a city in Medina that was Jewish. It was a Jewish city. But in the whole Medina, when you say Medina... Okay.
So we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So Yathrib was a Jewish city.
Yes.
We were ethnically cleansed from it.
Yes. That is 100% true. Because you did what you did.
And today, because of something Muslims say that our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents did 1,400 years ago, whether we did or we didn't, who knows, but because of that, you now enforce an apartheid.
Well, it's not only about you. It's for Christians, it's for Buddhists, Hindus, so it's nothing personal. It's not a Jewish thing. It's
a Muslim thing. It's an Islamic apartheid. I agree. It's not.
Some places. It's just Mecca and Medina. It's just a place of worship. Why do you care?
Ramsey, imagine how much you would cry if we suddenly kicked out all the Palestinians. Habibi, listen.
If you told me this place in Jerusalem, it exists, it's a huge place, beautiful place, it's only for the Jews, you can't enter.
No, I'm
I don't
talking
get
the
that.
city of, you're talking
It's
the
fine.
modern city of Medina, the modern city of Mecca, we're not allowed into. I'm saying the modern city of Jerusalem, every Muslim Palestinian is kicked out. What would you be crying?
If every
Apartheid.
Muslim, if every Muslim would be kicked out of Jerusalem,
And banned from entering Jerusalem.
well, you do that to a lot of people. A lot of people are
Nah,
banned from entering Jerusalem. But are
there's
you calling
millions
for
of
the total
Muslims.
ethnic cleansing? That's what you mean, like
There's millions
totally.
of Muslims pray at my holiest site every single year. I'm not allowed to pray there, and it's my Kaaba. It's my Kaaba, and
No,
I'm not allowed to pray there because of the
no,
Jordanian Waqf.
because of the Jordanian Waqf. Yeah, you will never
Yeah.
do anything because of Jordan. That's a promise.
I'd be careful what you say because there is a growing movement within Israel to take Masjid al-Aqsa back, and if they do,
Yeah.
Habibi, it's not going to be what you expect because the people
It's
that are
gonna be
calling
huge.
for that are also calling for the third temple.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. This is a huge thing. It's not a small matter. If this happens,
But this is the irony of it. You ethnically cleansed us from our city. You enforce an apartheid in that area that bans us from a place that we lived in before Islam was conceived. And
okay.
today you expect us to share our holiest site with you while like bizarrely claiming that we're the ones enforcing an apartheid when you have an actual apartheid in Medina and Mecca.
But that's not fair because we have Arabic states are 22 states, if I'm not mistaken.
I
And
know,
you are,
and Jews having one is not fair for you guys. It's not fair. We've got
you have,
22 and you've got
no,
one. One's
you,
too
you,
many.
you have the right to exist and you have the right to have a state, but not the way you took it and not the way you have it and not the way you had it. Not
Okay,
with
so stop.
murdering and
Let
killing people. I mean, if for me, if I was like a leader of Palestine in Jerusalem, and okay, I heard the Jews want to live in Palestine, and they want to have their own parliament, and they want to rule themselves, and they want a lot of things, but they want to live in Palestine. In Islam, and for me personally, there is nothing wrong with that. But
is it
you
such a,
entered in a different way. You didn't come in that matter. Come
do you
on,
know
man.
how we came? How do you think we came? How do
First
your
of all,
books say that we came?
first of all, you came like in the late 20s and 30s, in the early 30s, and you were welcomed by Palestinians in their homes, and a lot. But the war started in 48. The war started in
Okay,
48. But you were
We'll just go over that history, Ramsey. Ramsey, your
now.
history is bad, Habibi.
When
I
did you
like
start
you.
coming?
So
When did you start coming to
we've been,
Palestine?
we first and foremost, we were always in the land, but in terms
Yeah, in
of
Nablus,
building,
in my city,
yeah, no,
in the
no,
city of
I'm
Nablus.
talking
The real Jews,
Shechem,
like,
Shechem,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Shechem. Um, Nablus is named after Neapolis, which was the Roman name, which they renamed it
yeah.
after they crushed the Jewish there. So all of your cities
Hmm.
are based on ours.
It's
Have you heard of have you heard of Allah?
Allah. No, I haven't.
Yeah. Have you heard of Ramallah?
Ramallah. Okay, so the
Before it
original.
was Ramallah, it was Allah. Before it was Allah, it was Beit Allah. Before it was Beit Allah, it was Bet El,
Bethel.
the
Okay,
Hebrew city.
okay.
And
So
so Jews have always been in the land. However,
okay,
at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, we started building up the instruments, the tools, the mechanisms of a state. So we started building power plants, we started building airlines, ship lines, investing large sums, putting in place education, investing in the infrastructure you would need to run a state. And the Arabs reacted to that with massacres. So in 1920 was the first major one under Haji al-Husseini, which was the Nabi Musa riot, massacre, call it what you want, in Jerusalem. The next year you had in Jaffa. In 1929 in Hebron, the Jews were massacred. We weren't welcomed with open arms. Haji al-Husseini declared, "Oh, my Muslim brothers, I declare jihad, slaughter the Jews, slaughter them all." if that's your idea of welcomed with open arms, like astaghfirullah, I hope nobody ever welcomes you in that way.
No. He had the right to fight soldiers. He fought soldiers. He didn't kill unarmed Jews. And if he did kill
Hajimin
an
al-Hussein, what are you
if
talking about?
if he did kill unarmed Jews, then he has nothing to do again with our
I mean, he was a
religion.
literal Nazi. He was a literal Nazi.
I don't believe so. If
He
it's
was one of
true,
the highest paid Nazi officials in Berlin when he lived in Berlin. He tried to set up death squads in Albania and Kosovo to kill Jews. He was 100% a Nazi.
well, see,
Like,
that's the thing. That's why we lost Jerusalem. That's why Muslims lost Palestine. We
no, you
we
lost. You
don't
lost Palestine.
we we've lost our religion. We don't know our religion. We started looking for Nazis, like you say. I'm taking your word that he
Yeah.
seeked help from Nazis. If you're a Muslim and you seek help from Nazis, you will not prevail. You're not you're not a proper Muslim. You can't it can't happen. You know. So if
That
it
that
happened, maybe that's why he didn't succeed and he was killed. So I don't know.
no,
Maybe he was a martyr and maybe he was an idiot. I don't really care. He doesn't represent Islam or represents the huge
he,
thing,
he
the huge picture.
he was only the leader of the Arabs at that time because the British put him in the position of being the authority that they went to. The British
Yes,
put him in his position. One of the
yes.
biggest mistakes the British made. I think we probably would have had peace if it weren't for the British installing Hajimin al-Husseini.
To
But
me, I'm a huge supporter that he fought the English, he fought the Jews, he wanted to free his country. I don't know if he sought help from the Nazis. If he did, I hope God forgives him because he's an idiot and he doesn't understand his religion, and he fought and died for nothing. So that's
this is my
sad.
thing of I think we actually, despite you being like pretty hardcore in your views, I think there's more common ground than we realize. And so you said something which I want to pull back to because and maybe this is the how we bring the conversation to a conclusion is you seem to allude that you you don't agree with how the state of Israel came into existence, and that's fine. We have a different history. We don't need to debate that. But let's say that it came into existence in a different way, but in the same land. Could you
Okay.
support a Jewish state here in what you would call Palestine, what I would call Israel?
Yeah, of course. If you want to live,
Mashallah.
yeah, of course, of course. Nothing wrong with that at all. As long as we live peacefully. But that's the thing. You don't want that. If you want that, that would be amazing. There's no problem with that. You have the right to live in Palestine. You have the right to have a
But
Jewish state
but
and have everything. You have the right to do so, but not on the expense of the Palestinian and the Arabs and the Muslims. You're taking everything. You're taking water. You're taking land. You're taking. Some people are
but
taking like little kids, putting them in prison. Like you're not acting in a way that supports that idea. You're going
so so,
really
so, so
hardcore.
ignoring the modern state, because I think we'll get caught up on all the details. I'm interested in like zooming out and looking at the big picture. I
Yes,
just
yes,
want to be
absolutely.
clear in what you're.
For your question, yes, you have the right to have a Jewish state in Palestine and live
Yeah.
absolutely in freedom
Now,
and security,
and
everything.
Jerusalem is our capital, or not?
We could share it. I think we can share it. I really think we can share it. It's nothing
I
wrong with
actually,
sharing Jerusalem with us
I,
and you and the Christians. And there could be a special leader for Jerusalem, like every 2 years, one Jewish man, then a Christian man, then a Muslim man. Why not? I mean, why not? As long as there is peace and harmony, then yeah, why not?
so I
There's
want
nothing wrong with it. But that's
I want
very
my
hard
audience.
to achieve. I mean, you have done wrong to a lot of people. Let's be honest. A lot of people ran. Okay, you could say it's their problem. They ran away in 1948. They shouldn't have run away. Right now, there is like more than 2 million, if I'm not mistaken, 2 million Palestinians that live in Tel Aviv and Haifa and Jaffa, and they're living in extreme freedom,
Yeah.
money, everything. They're so happy. I've sat with them. I've known them. So you might say it's their problem. They left. They ran away. But if you want real peace, we want to make a real peace, you have to get back those people you displaced, bring them back, let them live in their country, like the same way you want to live in that country. And I
So
think,
I think that's another video. But what I do want to do, I want to end the video here because I want to show that someone who, so I don't want to mischaracterize you. So if I'm mischaracterizing you, jump in. But somebody who is supportive of Hamas, supportive of
yes,
the ideology behind them, would see
yes,
themselves as a supporter of Jihad, a
yes.
Palestinian, is saying that
Jordanian,
there
originally
is
Palestinian, yes.
that even he could come to some compromises with us. And I think that's a hopeful note to end this conversation on because we're not going to agree on the detail.
Yes,
But the
yes, of
fact
course.
that we both, I think, is it fair to say that we both want peace?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. So
I'm
that
not,
we,
a psycho that I just want to kill you just because you're Jewish. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not that. I mean,
and I think that's what I want to end this video on because otherwise we'll argue for hours. And I think that's quite a hopeful note to end on.